Hello everybody and welcome to today's lesson on the nightmare. So can you please make sure that you put today's date and your title on whatever you're working on, whether that is a Word document or on paper. So for your starter today, I would like you to find 5 synonyms for the following words: fear, horror, gloom and misery. Okay, so spend 5 minutes and you can feel free to use this website if that is something you would like to do. What we're going to be doing today is we're going to be using a painting as a prompt for your own Gothic writing. So, have a go at finding these synonyms. Pause the video whilst you do. So, this is a really famous painting then by a man called Henry Fuseli, and it is called The Nightmare. So I would like you to please write down one word to describe your first impression of this painting, but make sure you write in a full sentence, please. So my first impression of The Nightmare is... So, archetype then is a word that means to be a typical example of a certain person or thing. So lots of people think that this painting is an archetype of Gothic. So putting these two ideas together then, look at the painting and try and write a list of what you think might be Gothic about this painting. 4 minutes. Pause the video whilst you do, please. So this is what I think is Gothic about this particular painting then. For the first thing, obviously we can see a woman who is in distress. Now that is suggesting illness or death. There is a dark lighting suggesting a really gloomy atmosphere. There seem to be demonic or potentially supernatural creatures that are in this painting. There is a tassel that you can see just towards the right hand side, and that suggests to me a potential manor or a castle location, which is quite typical of Gothic. There is a lot of shadows that you can see as well in this painting, so that suggests a really gloomy atmosphere yet again. And there is a red and black colour scheme, which suggests something sinister. And finally, I did notice as well, there are some bottles on the table which suggest themes of science or possibly magic that might be in this painting. So, 15 minutes for this particular task then. A lot of Gothic writers were really fascinated by this painting, The Nightmare. So, on paper or on a Word document, I would like you to write down everything that you see. Try to be really factual. So, for example, saying the woman's left arm is dangling over the bed with the knuckles just touching the floor. For each thing that you write down that you see, can you also please write down possible explanations for what you see? So, for example, the woman might be limp because she is dead, deeply asleep, or drugged. So just take 15 minutes and try and write down everything that you see along with possible explanations for that. Pause the video whilst you do, please. Alright, so next up then. I am going to read both of these descriptions of the image to you. I want you to decide which one is better, and I want you to explain your choice, okay? So, for the first one then. As I entered the room, the moon came out from behind the clouds and flooded the room with a pale white light. Sarah was lying on the table. She was stretched out wearing a long white robe. My heart thumped because she looked dead. Her head was hanging over the edge of the table and one arm was dangling. Alternatively, we've got the next one. I knew it was too late. In the moonlight coming from the open window, Jane was draped over the bed in the centre of the room. Robed in a beautiful white gown, her head and arm hung peacefully over the table's edge, but blood had soaked her outer robe. Her face had a corpse-like paleness. On her body sat a mean and triumphant demon, his grinning shadow printed grimly on the red curtains behind. So, pause the video and write down for me which one you think is better and why you think it's better. 8 minutes, please. So, Here are some reasons why I think that the second description is better. For starters, the description is made personal by using these nice short sentences using the word I in it, so it makes the description very personal. Additionally, we can see that the lighting is being discussed here. We're using the moonlight to talk about the lighting. The description tells us where the woman is positioned as well, and how she's positioned. She's not just lying, she's draped. I don't know if you guys have ever come across this before, if your primary school teachers ever said it, but when you are describing something, you should usually use show, don't tell. So show, don't tell basically means, rather than saying, she looked dead, you could instead say something like, her face had a corpse-like paleness, okay? So that is suggesting to the reader that she is dead, but it doesn't actually say, she's defo dead. So there is also a lot of use of interesting adjectives and adverbs in this particular extract as well. Now, these aren't the only things that make it interesting, okay? We've also got short and long sentences, different types of sentences as well. But this is why I think this is a better choice. So, this is your final task then. I would like you to imagine that you have just entered the room. I'd like you to please write a paragraph describing what you can see. So, in your work, I'd like you to try and include synonyms for fear, horror, and gloom. I'd like you to use effective pathetic fallacy. So, have a think about, the moonlight, acting as pathetic fallacy here. And try and use foreshadowing as well. Try and create a sense that something is going to happen. So you've got 15 minutes on that main task. Once you've done that, can you please upload your work to Microsoft Teams so I can see how you've done? Okay guys, thank you.